Good evening, I'm John Moorhead, Gahanna City Engineer. Tonight we're presenting two programs that we've been working on over the last 18 months. We have an overview of Gahanna's ADA transition plan, which is available for review on our website. We're going to be soliciting feedback through this video so that you can let us know your thoughts on that program. As a part of and related to the transition plan is Gahanna's Sidewalk maintenance program, which we'll be also presenting tonight to give you an overview of what to expect as that rolls out in 2021.
Hello, my name is Ryan Andrews. I'm an engineer and project manager with EMH&T. We had the privilege of helping the City of Gahanna prepare their ADA transition plan in 2020. Starting off, I want to give a brief overview of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It was signed into law in 1990, and it included 5 distinct sections or titles, which were all geared towards eliminating discrimination for those with disabilities throughout the country. The 5 titles are employment, state and local government services, public accommodations, telecommunications, and miscellaneous provisions. The one that we're going to focus on today is Title II of the ADA, which focuses on state and local governments. That title of the Americans with Disability Act states that no qualified individual with a disability shall, by any reason of such disability, be excluded from participation in or be denied the benefits of the services, programs, or activities of a public entity, or be subjected to discrimination by any such entity. Title II of the ADA goes on further to state that any government agency with over 50 employees has to establish an ADA transition plan. An ADA transition plan is a document, really a living document, that the community can use to track their progress towards meeting the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And it's a formal document that the City of Gahanna has assembled and is going to use in future years to continue to track their progress on meeting the requirements of ADA. The components of a transition plan are: 1, to designate a person within the community to serve as the coordinator, perform a self-inspection of all public infrastructure and facilities, to notify the public that we're doing this and to seek public feedback, which is part of what this presentation is geared towards, and to develop a grievance procedure so that anybody who feels as though there are issues within the community has an outlet and a place where they can identify those issues to the city so that they can be incorporated into the program. The second step in the ADA transition plan was to perform a self-inspection. The self-inspection is divided into 3 categories: communications, building facilities, and pedestrian facilities. From a communications standpoint, we reviewed signage within the city to verify that there was clear wayfinding signage for ADA compliant accessible routes, and also to ensure that proper signage was placed in the parking lots around ADA parking spaces. Second, we reviewed the buildings to verify that clear access into the building could be achieved by those with disabilities, and to make sure that all areas where visitors would be received were ADA compliant. That includes doorways, counters at reception areas, restrooms, locker rooms, and so forth. The final portion of the self-inspection focused on pedestrian facilities. These are sidewalks, ADA compliant curb ramps at the intersections, pedestrian push buttons at signalized intersections, and also we looked at parking spaces within the city's public parks and other facilities. The building inspections focused on City Hall, the police department, the senior center, the city's facilities at Creekside, Hunter's Ridge Pool, the Gahanna Swimming Pool, and the Gahanna Golf Course. These facilities were reviewed against the ADA checklist for existing facilities, which was published by the Institute for Human-Centered Design in 2016. We conducted a thorough evaluation of each of these buildings and documented any deficiencies developed cost estimates to improve those deficiencies or eliminate them, and help the city program those for future years. In terms of communication issues, the most common things we discovered were either non-compliant sign heights on ADA parking spaces, or just the lack of signs as accessible entrances to buildings. We also noted that some of the signs within the facilities did not have braille. The building inspections uncovered some common issues, which included inaccessible doorways, non-compliant restrooms. Those are ones that have either stall size or door locks that are inaccessible, and also restroom issues with non-compliant sinks. And those are situations where an individual with a wheelchair may not be able to wheel up right next to the sink or air dryer, and so forth. All of these issues within the buildings were documented and included in the ADA transition plan. Infrastructure inspections included 14 miles of sidewalks, 218 curb ramps, and 122 traffic control signals throughout the city. Sidewalk inspections revealed that there are several sections of sidewalk that have settled panels, ones that have raised lips where perhaps tree roots have caused them to raise up from the adjacent panels. Some of the sidewalks didn't have sufficient passing space, and those items were all documented, and cost estimates were prepared to remedy all of these issues and included in the implementation plan of the ADA transition plan. Sidewalk inspection areas were identified by the city, and EMH&T personnel conducted very detailed and thorough inspections of those areas to identify all of the deficiencies noted. ADA compliant curb ramps are an essential component at every intersection within the city. Over the years, curb ramp standards have changed significantly. And so as we inspected the curb ramps, we noted several things, including lack of detectable warning system, non-compliant running slopes or cross slopes, or just settled panels where there are sections that have settled away from the adjacent sidewalk, creating a tripping hazard. All of those items were summarized, and costs were prepared, or budgetary numbers rather, were prepared to include those in the city's future capital improvement plans. This map shows the locations within the city where we focused our curb ramp inspections. Similar to curb ramps, standards for pedestrian push buttons at signalized intersections have changed over the years. Current recommendations include audible tones and braille on the buttons so that those with low vision can find them and know which direction they're heading. Several of the signalized intersections within the city predate these recommendations, and it would be recommended that they get updated with new buttons once a larger signal improvement or curb ramp improvement is being done at that particular intersection. In all, EMH&T spent several weeks in the field measuring and evaluating different facilities and infrastructure within the city to identify ADA issues and make the city aware of those through the development of the implementation plan located within the ADA transition plan. Now the city is working on budgeting those items for future years so that improvements can be made. I'd encourage everybody who has more interest to review the full plan on the city's website and provide feedback when available.
As part of Gahanna's efforts to push forward our ADA transition plan in the last year and a half, we've also been working on a proposed sidewalk maintenance program. There's a separate but related program initiative that's supposed to help the citizens of Gahanna bear the cost of sidewalk maintenance in their neighborhoods while also improving those sidewalks on a neighborhood scale. Unlike most home improvements, sidewalk maintenance is rooted in federal and state laws. The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 established that accessible routes must be maintained in operable working condition. Those routes in Gahanna can be sidewalks, they can be multi-use paths, they can be the distance from your parking lot to the front door of a building. Under Gahanna City Code, sidewalk maintenance is prescribed and required as part of a zoning obligation. In Ohio state's law establishes that property owners are the parties responsible for maintaining the sidewalk that abuts their property. Now, in 2020, Gahanna staff went forward and inspected 25 miles of sidewalk across the city in neighborhoods that would be representative of the different eras of construction all over the city of Gahanna. So we took a sampling of streets that could represent, for example, how the streets in Royal Manor look, or how the streets in Hunter's Ridge or Hannah Farms might be represented in a sidewalk maintenance program. Of those 25 miles of sidewalk, which comprise nearly 15,000 individual sidewalk panels, we found that 30% needed some form of repair. That could be replacement, that could be leveling, but in general, maintenance of a sidewalk panel can be between $100 and $300 per panel. And if you happen to own a home that has a large amount of sidewalk, that can be a substantial repair cost. The success of Issue 12 allows Gahanna to offer a program that can dedicate funds towards helping maintain those sidewalks. We hope to draft this program and have it before council as a final presentation in the next coming months and kick it off in 2021. As a broad overview, the program looks to seek all sidewalks to be maintained within 15 years across the city. It will be active in all wards of the city at any given time. It will follow past street maintenance programs. So in areas where the city is invested in the streets in your community, you can see that the sidewalk program will come in years afterwards and look to maintain those sidewalks as well, so that we have a comprehensive network of maintained streets, crosswalks, curb ramps, and sidewalks. If your property is part of a program area in Gahanna, you can see the following steps will take place. We, the city, will inspect all of the sidewalks. We will notify homeowners if we discover any maintenance needs on those sidewalks. And from that point, you'll have two options. You can opt in to the city's program, or you can opt out of the program. If you opt in, the city of Gahanna will contract for those sidewalk repairs in a large capital project. We'll bid it publicly, we'll seek a qualified contractor to do the work, and from the volume of sidewalk repairs, we expect to get very competitive pricing. We will then oversee, through our engineering staff, the work being performed to make sure it's quality. And at the end, Gahanna pays that contractor. The residents will reimburse the city that cost over a 5-year period at 0% interest rate, leveling out the cost that you might incur to maintain that sidewalk. Now, if you choose to opt out, you have the opportunity to pay for the sidewalk yourself and hire your own contractor with a method that you or they recommend. That work still gets permitted and inspected by the city of Gahanna, but you have more freedom to choose how it gets done. In that option, the city will not be paying to reimburse that sidewalk or giving you an opportunity to pay over time. You can see more of this program as it's presented to council in the coming months, and we welcome any feedback at that time. If you have any feedback on either the ADA transition plan or the proposed sidewalk maintenance program at this time, we ask that you please submit it through our website. There's links to an email address for ada@gahanna.gov. We're hoping to incorporate this feedback and make any changes to the proposed program before we roll it out as a final form. But we look forward to presenting this option to the residents of the city so that we can seek these sidewalk repairs and help improve our pedestrian connections through our neighborhoods.